Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you friends for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. My personal record for quitting is 4 hours from the start of my shift. The second story. Our coworker's parents showed up at work demanding to talk to her, which resulted in them being banned from the building, but that was just the beginning. The third story. Manager went off on a 15-minute rant about how nobody wants to work, while I'm standing in front of her telling her I want to work. The first story is, I quit after 4 hours into my first shift for some safety issues. About 12 years ago, I was a young student looking for a job before starting university. Got hired by a contractor that specialized in machinery cleaning for the pork meat processing industry. I got there at 10 p.m. for my first shift ever, scheduled to work until 8 a.m. On arrival, I get a quick briefing with my supervisor. He shows me a yellow jumpsuit and tells me to get dressed, with some rubber boots, gloves, and safety glasses. No helmet, facial shield, or mask. He then guides me on the shop floor, into a room full of dirty machines and 4 to 5 workers, cleaners, and tells me, this is where you work tonight. Just do the same as everybody else, and quits. So I get in touch with one of the guys and he's nice enough to introduce me to the cleaning process. Basically, you start by rinsing the machine with a pressure water hose, then proceed with foaming with a soap hose. You then rinse again, then foam the machine with sanitizer with another hose. You finish with another rinse and you're done. After telling me the process, he heads back to his machine and resumes his work, leaving me alone. I get to work, trying to mimic as best I could the same thing as the other guys. At this point, I'm a little worried that no one is double-checking my work to confirm that the machine is cleaned correctly. You know, those machines are used to process meat for consumers after all. There must be some kind of sanitary requirement. Anyway, I keep doing my thing. After a while, I realize that I'm completely soaked. There's water in my boots and in my jumpsuit. I've got foam in my hair and in my face. Remember, no helmet nor face shield. I then try to be more careful with the pressure hoses, aiming to minimize the splashing as best I can. The supervisor comes and calls lunchtime. I must have been working for 4 hours by now. Anyway, I follow the guys to the dining room and then heads directly to the restroom. I get a glimpse of myself in the mirror and this is when I freaked out. My skin was peeling. I was not feeling any pain, but my face looked like a couple days after a bad sunburn. I don't know how to describe it, but at that moment I simply lost it. I don't have much memory of what happens next. I just remember yelling hysterically at the supervisor, heading back to my car and never looked back. My face went back to normal after a couple of days. The second story is, speak to us, your parents, or we'll call in a threat in person. Okay. Background. We have a person who works at our office. Let's call her Kathy. Kathy started working with us about a year ago. Very relaxed and very easy to get on with. She's a very good worker, excellent attention to detail, but didn't really talk much about her personal life. Some days she can go by without saying a word to anyone. I always assumed it was because in our office we're mostly all on the spectrum, autism, and she always talks without looking at the person she was speaking with, generally down at the ground. One day around 7-8 months ago, her parents one day a while ago randomly showed up in our lobby and demanding if not screaming to speak to her. They appeared drunk and were trespassed. She went home for the rest of the day as clearly it must have taken some time for her parents to track her down, to actually find where she worked. She was really paranoid about social media or pictures of her being taken. We didn't fully comprehend it until one particular incident. What I previously couldn't wrap my head around is why parents would go out of their way to get their own daughter in problems at work and show up and demand they talk to her. We, our team, didn't want to pry, but she told us on growing up that her parents were alcoholics and she was mostly left at home to fend for herself. At least that was the gist. We knew the dad was a bit of a hothead, so our team collectively agreed if they showed up, we would call security. The company was very on her side, but we could tell there was a lot more to it. They're banned from the building. She already has enough to get them trespassed, asked to leave. This went into effect about 3 months ago and no one was any wiser, until that fateful day of the incident. The incident. We were all working in one of the main wings of our building when a general security alert is raised that someone is on the premises that shouldn't be. This is normally fine as we work very close to a public park with a footpath, and there's no fence, and likely 9 out of 10 they don't know they've entered private property or that they can't generally be there. Now, we're not a governmental facility, but we do deal with government systems when they apply to ERP/large-scale high-end systems that require support. I don't work on those teams, but they do exist within our building, so our security is geared for that level of response should we ever need it. Generally, we pay security to go to the gym and look mean for the most part. Now to explain, there's 2 sets of doors and a badge turnstile to get to our part of the building. A man trap, not exactly the most secure, but you can get through it if your card is authorized. By policy, we can't swipe for another person, as they need to go to the security desk. Our security team 99% of the time looks bored and is a mixture of ex-military types. Mostly they're down to earth and will speak to anyone, or helpfully do jobs given in the office even if it's not security. Pick up package from reception, deliver it to a person, chase post office, etc. On one side of our office from our full glass windows, you can see the public footpath, and on the other one side overlooked our main car park, which was our main entrance and exit. Around that time, we noticed the alert hasn't passed, and security is rushing to our door from the inside. All we hear from our security team radio is breach, breach, with security rushing over to us to advise to take down the fire exit. Basically, someone was there who definitely shouldn't be there, and wouldn't leave, and was now trying to get into our wing door. At this point, we all huddled together towards the back, and got ready to get to the fire exit, end of our wing with a dedicated set of stairs leading down to the public footpath that ran near our building. However, security closed the door from us and asked us to stay put. Okay, there's a crazy, let's not panic about it. We stay up here and then we should be good until the police arrive. Well, first we see a protection civil car, Civil Protection Spain, show up in our car park. Okay, generally these are called in if the situation is minor, and there's no need for any intervention. My thought at this moment, someone is just lost and probably doesn't speak the language downstairs. They can double as tourist police. At this point, we don't know where this person is, as they seem to be moving around following the radio chatter. Persona una in Ponte Cero, persona uno in Intraplaza, followed by English, am I authorized to drop this sack of SH? Reception. But between that could be main reception or our floor. Reception that day is a former soldier, Gibraltar, who didn't always get along with, but not the type of person you want to upset. A few minutes later, we hear on security radios, we hear blue 1, red 1, black, which seemed to cause security on our floor to flip the nearest tables to our doors. Laptop screens, you name it, to our main door to block the entrance to our wing. At this point, we're very concerned. A makeshift barricade, clearly an overreaction. What the hell is going on? Secure 1, Secure 2, Secure 3. Guessing this was for our floors. Followed by Lockdown Wing West, our location. This apparently means we can't use the fire exits. We then watch as local police and then national police race through our car park with blue lights flashing to our building. Oh, now this is getting a bit concerning. They rush into our building, but we can't see what's happening downstairs due to the angle from our windows not matching up to the main entrance. We see what looks like all of site security downstairs running to outside our entrance. We wait another few minutes with black being declared, and that we should let the police in to all effective wings immediately. Now, my understanding of Spanish isn't the best at times. Our security team immediately go to Kathy. I think at the moment we knew who was downstairs. It was her dad. He couldn't have caused that much trouble. Most of our security team knows how to handle themselves. Maybe he's just trying to speak to Kathy again. No, I was completely wrong. In the meantime, we see Kathy start crying. In our car park, we see Guardia Civil Guard. Very, very bad sign. Full blue lights flashing in what looks to be a massive truck. We didn't know it at the time, but that's a specialized fire truck. Kathy, upon seeing this, is an emotional wreck to the point I've never seen anything like this ever. All we hear, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. We try to console her, but we've clearly lost the capability. Security manages to get her moving to the toilets on our floor to clean herself up. We hear screaming and shouting outside our main door to our wing, behind the turnstile, shouting her name. There was screaming back from Kathy. Let me tell you, none of the conversation was pleasant. Followed by Policia, Guardia Civil, and then Bomberos, Fire Brigade. What the hell? Is the Fire Brigade beating up the guy? Now, the passage of time at this point was confusing. I couldn't tell you if we were there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 to 4 hours. All I know, by the time things had calmed down, it was getting dark outside. We finally get out of the wing and we're told to avoid the main area. Kathy gets escorted out of the fire exit. A few security and police opt to go with Kathy. Aftermath. Her drunk dad, after getting a criminal trespass, and also a restraining order, and a foreign protection order for good measure, decided it was now a very good idea that whilst drunk to drive to our office to speak to Kathy about breaking up the family and tell everyone on our main desk it was her fault. Everything was her fault. Him being drunk, his wife being drunk, her mother's family wanting nothing to do with them, fake moon landing, etc. Now security asked him to leave. This high IQ level 100 genius, calling a threat in person whilst in the very same building. He gave security the idea he had a trap plan for her. In that situation, they asked him what he was planning and made it out would be very big. You can tell where this is going. Security by design locked down the building and had to clear every entrance and exit of any potential and possible threat. This turned into a nothing burger because no such threat existed. Just his drunkenness thought it would be a brilliant idea akin to Albert Einstein level thinking. Naturally, this was called into police. He then proceeded to try to assault the police officers. Acting on the information they knew, he had an exceptionally long history of violence and being arrested. We didn't know this, and the police were looking for evidence to put him down for a long time. Frankly, even the police hated dealing with him. Generally, when the office responding to you knows your name upon seeing you, you're doing something wrong. Most, if not all of us in the office tried to start talking to Kathy more. We didn't know how to deal to start with, but we eventually did open up to us more. From her telling her childhood reduced me to tears. There was no food in the house and she had to ensure whose siblings were fed to the point of stealing until she was old enough to work as a child. The reason she was good at her job was because she was about 10 years of experience ahead of us, and that was what made her money to feed her younger sisters. Dropped out of school and looked after them, making sure they were fed before her. I struggled with this because I couldn't imagine living through it. To put a child through that and expect them to be cordial, I'll never understand. The parents? He's in prison. Her supposed mother blames her for him being arrested. Apparently they were wanting to speak to her about money. This was done at the request of her mother. We look after Kathy a lot more and invite her out. She's opened up with us a lot more and talks to us more. One thing is that she does have a fear of abandonment that we work through, even if a few minutes late. We understand. We try to make sure she's included in everything we do. The lives some people live and she's one of the good ones, except her parents. F them in particular. And the last story is, job just begged me to come back to work 2 months after I quit. I've always been a firm believer of being paid what I'm worth, and when I started my job at grocery chain, as a clerk, I had assumed that minimum wage for my province, I live in Canada, would be fair compensation for my job. Turns out I was completely wrong, and after working there for just over 2 months, I had decided that enough was enough. I quit with zero notice and never looked back. Now for context, this grocery store has been putting up hiring signs since I moved into the neighborhood, and that was over 6 months ago. There's also been a worker shortage in every part of my city just under a year. So what happens when I go out for a walk last night? One of my old coworkers sees me and tells me that the hiring manager has been asking for me by name because I was a good worker, and they didn't know why I quit. He told me that they wanted me back to work in a different department. I took this as an opportunity to go back to the store to tell them that I would work for them if they gave me better hours and better pay. The hiring manager told me that there would be no way for me to earn more money unless I worked overtime, and she went off on a 15-minute rant about how nobody wants to work, while I'm standing in front of her, telling her I want to work. And she says that back in my day, we dealt with SH wages and worked our way up. Half of the people that work in that store are people more than twice my age, who hit their wage cap over a decade ago. I couldn't believe the amount of blame that this woman put on the workers, and not on the business for refusing to raise their wages. So looks like they're just gonna have to deal with the shortage for a while longer. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.